Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're chiming in from today. My name is Maria Stutzmani Marquez, and I serve as the Director of Graduate Admissions and Recruitment here at Mendoza College of Business at the University of Notre Dame. It is my honor and pleasure to wish you the most wonderful new year ahead. Feliz Navidades y Prospero Año Nuevo. And for those of you out there who have different ways of saying Happy New Year, it's something that we all share at the beginning of this time. So please put that in the chat box so we learn a little bit more about each other and how we greet each other in the new year. Our hope today is to provide to you this beautiful experience with our students coming from the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, really spotlighting the richness and the fullness of the dynamic cohort that we have here at Mendoza College of Business. Our hope today is to do some quick introductions here of our team, and I think I have my screen on a different show. So if we could go forward a little bit to the next slide. For today, we have about the next, what would you say, Cassie, like 45, 50 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, all right, just making sure we have the right time. What we'd love to do is spend that time sharing more about who we are, our community, the culture, and really the curriculum, but what it means for us to be a deeply inclusive and diverse community here at Mendoza College of Business. So I am going to quickly introduce my colleagues here online today. As I mentioned, Cassie, she has really set this up for all of us. Cassie Smith and Phil Drendel, who serve as both the leads for the 2-year MBA program in admissions and the 1-year MBA program, respectively. And we also have Annette Tisper on the line. And if you haven't had a chance to connect with her, she really is the first person we want you to connect with when you have questions or you have an interest or you're really discerning MBA programs as a whole. So thank you all for being here. I know that we have other colleagues in the background. Amy Dame, if you haven't connected with her, she's usually great at answering questions about applications in the moment. So please reach out to her. And we have our other marketing lead, Rebecca Wood, who's not present today, but is around, and she's probably the one who you're getting tons of messages from, especially out there in the digital space. But without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Funmi. She is our lead and the president of the DE&I committee here at Mendoza College of Business. I hope I'm giving you the credit there. There's a whole committee, a group, and a council here who are working towards really evolving the community as we continue to press forward. So Funmi, please, thank you so much for gathering us all here today. And this event today is actually a brainchild of the DE&I committee, who have spent countless hours and time really thinking about ways in which we can advance ourselves here at Mendoza. So thank you so much, Funmi.
Thank you so much, Maria, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, depending on where you're joining us from, and good evening if you're joining us, if you're way ahead of us. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you so much, Admissions, for giving us this opportunity. This is just our own way of letting prospective students know how inclusive we are at Notre Dame and what you're going to get to experience right from students, like just giving you our experiences as current students in the program to let you know what we're experiencing right now and what we love so much about Notre Dame, and some of the things you're going to get if you come to join us. Like Maria said, my name is Funmi Okwetu. I'm currently in the 2-year MBA program, graduating in May. Yes. My majors are business analytics and strategy. And honestly, when people ask me every time, why did I join Notre Dame? I always say it like, from the first day that I stumbled on the website, I just knew Notre Dame was the place for me to do my MBA. I just fell in love with it. It aligned with my values. It aligned with my vision. And so far, for all the time I've been in the program, I have a group of supportive people that always give me a platform to be able to do everything, very supportive, and they would let you do everything that you want to do. And I feel like this is just like a platform that everybody needs to have access to. So thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to take some time right now to introduce my panel that will be joining us today, starting with Larissa.
So hi, everybody. My name is Larissa. I'm from Fortaleza in Brazil. I did my internship at Apple. I'm doing a major in business analytics. I'm not that excited as Fumi about my graduation. I will miss so much Notre Dame. I'm kind of afraid, but I'm happy also graduating, but I know I'm gonna miss. And I chose Notre Dame as Fumi said, when I saw the website and I started to learn more about the university, I found that everybody here was very supportive, and the community sense that everybody here has was something that struck me. And yeah, that was the reasoning. And I hope you join Notre Dame, and I'm sure you will enjoy here.
Thank you so much, Larissa. And then we're going to move on to Nick.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to have you join. I'm a current second year as well, like Funmi and Larissa, so graduating in May, also very bittersweet, but it'll be exciting. My majors are strategy and business leadership, and I want to go into the healthcare industry. And so my internship this summer was with Emory Healthcare and their process improvement division. But going forward, and I'll be actually going to med school, so not only diversity in terms of identities, but also diversity and just our thought and our backgrounds and where we're all going, which is really cool, I think, at Notre Dame. And that's the part where I chose it, was, I think the family's really strong, and that really showed with Annette. Actually, Maria was just talking about, she's kind of your go-to questions person right now. And yeah, I emailed her back and forth so many times. She connected me with current students and things like that during my application process. So I just knew it was a really tight-knit family, and they're really supportive. So that's ultimately why I chose Notre Dame.
Thank you so much for that, Nick. I think we're going to move on now to Kathy. Oh, Tyre. You can also go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tayo, or Timmy Tayo. I am also in the 2-year program, graduating this spring. I am excited. It is bittersweet. Actually, it feels weird that it's actually happening a little bit. Anyway, I am raised in Chicago, born in the UK. Family is Nigerian, and my internship was at BlackRock in data intelligence and finance. Major is innovation, entrepreneurship, and strategy. I don't know what I even wrote on it the first time. Oh, that's right. So I chose Notre Dame because, actually, yeah, it's still very much true. I'm a very spiritual person, and the spiritual foundation had a huge impact on why I chose the school. I try to approach everything with the God first mentality, and I'm human, so I fail. But there is something about ND that kind of still has that environment of people that are very like-minded. There's no one that you'll meet here that will not be, how do I put this? That will not be for you. I mean, obviously there's some people who are more for you than others, but at this school, every single person you encounter has some type of this very unique attribute about them that is so unique to Notre Dame, that has that welcoming and open atmosphere of collaboration, of ethical foundation, and most importantly to me, of spirituality. And lastly, I'll say I chose it because of the dual degree option, which is no longer being offered. However, you can kind of make it yourself if you do the MBA and the MSBA separately and kind of make your own dual degree. And then Business on the Front Line is a great opportunity that we're starting this spring. So highly recommend to check that out. But I knew this was the school for me solely because of the type of people that are here. And the network is ridiculous. Tap in. That's it. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you so much for that, Tyre. And now we go to Kathy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ying Cui, and you can call me Cassie. I come from China. I worked in Beijing for almost 10 years, and I came to Notre Dame last June and to start my MBA and also MSBA dual degree program. My major is business analytics and strategy. I interned in Amazon this summer as a senior program manager. And the reason I chose Notre Dame is I contacted a lot of alumni before the application. And I can feel their passion and love for Notre Dame, and they are so supportive and are helpful and give me a lot of very valuable advice and for my application and for my career. And I think this is a very good fit for me, so I chose Notre Dame, and I had a really amazing journey. And I really want to share my experience here, and I hope all of you can join Notre Dame this September and have a very great future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. So I think the first question I was going to ask is already it has already been answered by everyone, which is, why did you choose Notre Dame? And I think everybody talked about that at some point during their introductions. Please feel free to drop the questions. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, please feel free to drop that in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we will be able to address all of that. But right now, we have some questions that we have curated that we just want to chat about and just talk to. And if there is any further questions that you have from that, you can also drop it in the chat and we'll also be able to address that. So the first question I have here, and I'm throwing it open to the panelists, is going to be, how would you describe your experience as a diverse candidate at ND? And do you have any favorite moments at the moment? So anybody can feel free to jump on that.
I'm happy to jump in here. I forgot to mention so in my introduction, but I'm also the president of our LGBTQ plus and allies club. And yeah, I think our community's just been very supportive and welcoming of that identity. So I personally identify as gay, and obviously going to a Catholic school that seemed a little bit intimidating at first. But through conversations, with Annette and with current students, and now even being in the cohort and just having such tight-knit friends, I've seen just how supportive it is. And it's really been a great experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. And so I think that just really speaks to the welcoming nature of our students. I think that makes such a difference, even when you might come into it thinking one thing, but it's actually totally different and so nice. So don't be nervous, totally be yourself. It has no impact, on what the admissions team thinks, what other people here think. And yeah, just be yourself.
Thank you so much for that, Nick.
Yeah, I have another thing to share. I'm also the VP of Alumni Relations for the Latin American Club here in Notre Dame. And I had the opportunity to join the Latinx Summit with MBA students from all over the US. And this event happened really recent, and I had the support of the club and also from the diversity committee. And it was an incredible experience. I could understand more about the reality of Latin American students from other schools, their challenge, there is so much to improve. And it was really incredible experience. So I think I had also another great experience that it was during the World Cup. We organized an event here in Notre Dame, and we could see join students, gather students from all over the world to watch the World Cup games in Duncan here, that it's a building here in Notre Dame, and it was really nice, a really great experience. And we had the support of the diversity department here from the Notre Dame, from the university. It was also an incredible experience.
Thank you so much for that, Larissa.
So I want to touch on the African American and the African experience. I'm currently the president of the Black Graduates in Management Club, and I want to touch it on in 3 points. First point being opportunity. You have the opportunity at this school to create the change that you want to see in all aspects of that word. That can be anything from programming to events to diversity and inclusion, just like Fumi did with this entire operation and committee. Or you can create your own org, which is something else that some of our students have done, including Fumi and others. So I want to make sure that that's known, that even though the school is not as diverse as, say, like a HBCU or something of that nature, it still holds a lot of values that can be able to be used for opportunity for you. There's also something called the National Black MBA Conference, which is probably the best conference in the country for MBA students, open to everyone, but primarily engaged for African and African American students and people of color. And this conference has over 400 companies who come down to talk to just you, to interview you, to give you opportunities for internships, for jobs, for the network. And again, your network is probably the most important thing that happens from you from school outside of getting a job. So it's really crucial that you attend these things and also be a voice of change in those environments. My answer will be short, I promise. The second thing I'll say is belonging. You have the opportunity to actually be to belong to different ethnic groups, where you can kind of have that base and that foundation that will kind of create that joy that you then can permeate throughout the rest of your time at Notre Dame. If I didn't have that, if I didn't have PGM or AGC or other organizations, and AGC's African Graduate Club, if I didn't have those things in place, it would have been a little bit more difficult for me to acclimate to the environment at the school. But because the school does have those resources, you're able to have that belonging feeling, and then you can create that sense of belonging that the whole school has around you, for others of different ethnic and diverse groups to actually be involved with what you're doing. So things such as the Latin Club, as well as the LGBTQ plus club does that as well, very well, and the Asian Club. We all kind of have these collaborative events. And I forgot my last point, so I'm going to stop there. But yeah, it is very important and very helpful to have different ethnic clubs as well as diversity clubs to be able to help you to get acclimated to the university in the ways that you feel best belong to.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, here I want to share maybe my very personal experience, because I didn't have our study abroad experience before, and this is my first time study abroad, and I think Notre Dame gave me a very great experience here, and all my classmates and the professors are so supportive and helpful when I encountered many difficulties, including language or maybe culture shock, and they gave me a lot of advice, and I really learned a lot during my in my past year. And also I think Notre Dame is a very inclusive family, because I'm the president of the Asian Club, and we have a lot of activities like we celebration Diwali and also Chinese New Year, and Notre Dame give students a very good opportunity to learn different culture, and they are very open-minded. So I think this is a very great part.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Yeah, the Chinese New Year last year was a very big celebration, and yeah,
yes, we are prepared now.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So I would just briefly touch on my own experience. I would say Notre Dame has given me a platform to be able to do so many things that a lot of other schools probably wouldn't have given to me. And I'll give you an example of that. For someone like me, I loved the fact that I could interact with faculty, staff, and administration, and everybody was really ready to listen to me. Coming into the program, there were some things I thought about that I felt just identifying as problems or issues that my colleagues or people that went before me were having. An example of that is when we were coming in, there was still like a lot of talks about COVID, and people that were coming in from other countries were concerned about visa issues. Would they be able to get a visa? Would they be able to come in? Some countries were having a lot of backlog issuing visa to people. And I realized that, oh, well, we need a community for these people here to actually feel that they are heard and people want to listen to them and help them. And I took that idea. I went to people in administration. I went to talk to some faculty members, and everybody was very supportive. For me, what do you need? What do you need to make this actually a reality? And working through everybody was very supportive. And today we have an international students club for international students. And even with the Diversity Council, reaching out to every single person here to say, hey, how can we make this better? How can we improve diversity? How can we bring more students into what we're enjoying currently at Notre Dame? And for everybody on this panel today, everybody was very supportive. They were very inclusive. Maria, Cassie, my colleagues, and for the past couple of months, we've all been working together to create a better and a more inclusive environment for the students coming behind us and even for our classmates. So what I want to tell you is, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, if you have an idea, if you have something that is in your heart, even if it's just like you want to meet people or build new relationships. I've made some of my best friends in the school right now. And, those are relationships that I know is going to go for years. And, for me. So I would just say that Notre Dame gives you that opportunity and that platform. Everybody wants to be involved in you and everybody's ready to support you. And it's not like we're trying to compete against one another in this program. So I'm going to move on to my next question, which is going to be, what are some current misconceptions of being a diverse candidate in the Notre Dame MBA program? Can you share some that you've heard or some that you thought about before coming to Notre Dame, and how is that different from your experience right now?
Yeah, I can kick us off with this one too. I think, again, coming back to having the Catholic identity that was behind Notre Dame, obviously there's a misconception that LGBTQ like individuals are not really accepted here. But I think that's really been shown, to be the opposite of that. Because even, for example, in our ethics class, we always talk about Catholic with a little c versus the capital C, which is like the religious context of being Catholic. But with a lowercase c, it's like more about inclusivity and just having that community. And I think Notre Dame really tries to embrace that, especially in our graduate programs more so, because those are even more diverse than our undergrad programs are. And so I think that's just been the most eye-opening thing. I did see a question in the chat of people were wondering of like an experience where there was a fumble kind of, or where, you had to have lessons learned. And I would say it's not, always 100% easy. Again, with the misconceptions out there, I would say the LGBTQ plus community is small, but there are some of us at least, but we do have a lot of allies. And I think that's a really moving thing to see and inspirational. But that doesn't go without saying that they will have to ask you probably a lot of questions about the community, but it's because they want to learn. And so sometimes it can be hard being essentially like the only LGBTQ person, it feels like at times. So we're always ask the questions about like the community. But even with that, if they're coming from a good spot, even if something maybe isn't worded totally correctly or something like that, and they just want to learn more and really become educated. So when they have friends that are LGBTQ plus or going into the workforce, they can, be better about that. So I would say, like, obviously as anywhere, there's always those situations, but it's never anything bad. And it's always well intentioned and things like that. And it's really just because people want to learn about it.
Thank you for that, Nick. Does any other person want to jump on it?
I can follow up on that real quick. I'm going to speak very candidly, respectfully, of course. But if I understand the question correctly, you asked for how the interpretation of how it was when you were coming here, and then how it was like when you got here, and some of the difficulties that you may have faced. So I said this before in school, so I can say it again. When I first got to the school, my first thought was a lot of white people. And I was like, it's a lot. And I didn't see that many faces that looked like mine. And my first thought was, how am I going to be able to thrive here in a place where it seems like I have to carry the entire Black population's image on my back? And I think a lot of us, and from different ethnicities and different diverse groups, feels that way when you're in an environment where it's only you or it's just a few of you. And one thing that this school does is, like I said before, they make you feel very welcome. And that welcome is not just a fake welcome or like a fake demeanor, or it's like just so positive that it's almost like not real. Again, there are bad apples, but I think the overarching ethos of the school is that they are open and welcoming to every and anyone. So like I said, when you do find your tribe and your people, and even if you don't find people who look like you can still find people who are not like you, who don't look like you, who don't like the same things you do, who still actually want to know and learn about you. I found that a lot of my friends who are close to me don't look like me, and they don't come from the same background, and they are international Asian, or they are international something else, or they're not from the same countries I am in Africa. And those types of things kind of make you feel like, all right, well, I'm in this experience where I thought it wouldn't be diverse, but the people I'm meeting and that I'm drawing nearer to are actually extremely diverse, and their perspectives and their values and their morals are making me to be a better person, to understand how to do better business in a better way because of the interaction that I'm having. Now, the negative side of that is that you kind of do feel alienated at times. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, every day is perfect and it's a utopia and Notre Dame is amazing. It is an amazing school, but the reality of any school, anywhere, any company, anywhere, is that you're going to face challenges where are days where you are not going to feel like you're not in the perfect place. In those times, I just want to encourage you to remember that why you chose the school, and to remember that you do have people that you can go to. You can go and talk to Maria or Kathy or Phil or any of us if you see us on campus, or you can go, well, not us next year, we won't be there. But the people who are going to be there next year, you do have allies who you can speak with. You do have people that you can go and talk to. There is going to be a diversity committee next year. All these orgs will still be in place next year. All the people in leadership will still be there. The dean is also extremely open to talking to anyone if you get time on the calendar. You can go speak to a professor and they'll talk to you. So I just want to encourage you that in those moments where you feel like you may be alienated and it's not a perfect world, or you feel like you're drowning, there's such a strong network, even from alumni, that will be there for you no matter what. And I strongly believe it's because the school is founded on spiritual principles, as well as principles that, and I hate to say this, it's so cliche, but we really do grow the good in business. Like, for real, I'm not even trying to say it, but I didn't think so when I got here, to be honest. I'm sorry, Maria and everyone else. I didn't think so. And then now that I've been here for 2 years, it's deeply ingrained in the DNA of the school that we are here to actually do good for the world. As hard as that is to believe, it's extremely true. And trust me, I was not the most optimistic guy when I got here. And now I have been turned into the biggest Fighting Irish fan. I didn't think I'd be like that. Anyway, that's my take.
Thank you so much, Tyre. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of people that just came like, okay, I just want to get my MBA and get out of here. And they got into the program and now they're the biggest advocates for Notre Dame and they're talking to everybody and saying, no, you have to come here. You have to experience what we're experiencing. That's really the story of a lot of people out here. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Just before I move on to the next question, there is a question in the chat that asks Larissa if you could talk a little more about the Latin Summit.
Yeah, I answer like the person, I don't know.
Okay.
But but like I can explain to everybody. In fact, it was organized by the Latinx MBA Association, and they organize this event once a year, and leaders from the Latin American Club can join this event. And it was a meeting with other MBA students from different MBA schools in the US. It's not an event conference for people who are looking for jobs. This is not the purpose. And it's more a networking event and about sharing the challenge for Latin American students and other minority students, how to improve the challenge that leaders from clubs experience all over different schools in the US. And something like that I could share that I found very interesting is I didn't know, and I shared this with some people, is that like our Latin American club in Notre Dame is a Latin American club for domestic students, international students, for even Americans who have Latin American ascendants, or even allies, people who are like the Latin American community. And I found that in other schools, there is a division between international and domestic Latin American clubs. And I really didn't know this. And I was surprised to know this, in fact. And yeah, just to say that, in fact, here in Notre Dame, we don't have this. We are like, it's a Latin American club for everybody. And yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Larissa. That is actually true for all our clubs out here. So even with BGM, the Black Graduate Management Club, it is for everybody. And we even have allies. And the goal is we want to be as inclusive as possible. And we want you to know that, hey, because you're Black from maybe Africa does not change. We want you to actually see the experience of an African American also, and to be able to like bring all these experiences together. So we're not separating any of these things. The goal is we're trying to be inclusive and bring everybody together as one big family. The other thing, okay, another question that came up that I can see right now is, can you speak to the women experience in the Notre Dame program? And I would really touch on this. When I was coming in, I think that, for a lot of MBA programs, you would actually see the male population more than the female population. And for my class, we actually had a good number of females, like women coming into the program. And beyond women just coming into the program, we have a lot of women in leadership currently in our program. So there was no difference between, how a man is treated in class or how a woman is treated in class. We also have this partnership with Forte, which is also like an organization that actually supports women going into business. And this is also like a fellowship program that is available to a lot of women in the program. And there are also different ways to encourage women. Even if you have a family, we have like a family life organization that is supporting like families that would also help you if you have maybe your husband coming in with you or you have your kids coming in with you. So there is really no segregation or no difference because you are a woman coming into the program, or maybe you'll be treated differently. Most clubs right now even have women leaderships, and you see women like our current MBA president, our current MBA association president is a woman. And, it just brings so much joy to see how many things women are currently doing in the program and how they're impacting their colleagues and even the people coming behind us. So I would actually tell you, there is no difference. You're going to have a good time. You're going to have good education, but you have a lot of opportunities to also make impact in the program. The next question I would ask, which is actually very related to what we're talking about before, is how do you feel supported in the program? So are there resources, are there opportunities that you've been able to like tap into just because you're in the program, and even maybe because you're a diverse candidate? Or just,
Well,
yeah, actually I can, oops. Okay,
Yeah,
Kathy, you can go first.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, here maybe I can share my experience here. Because I work in China before, I have different, culture when funding internship or recruiting. And for me, networking is a really big lesson for me to learn. And I get a lot of support and help from the career development. And they give me a lot of advice and also mock networking to help me to know how to networking with alumni and how to have a better experience with our alumni in a very high position. So I think I learned a lot. Yeah. From the help. And beside that, I think during my whole learning progress, because I have my 1 year MBA and I learned a lot of coding stuff because I don't have any coding background. So it's kind of difficult for me. A lot of the professors and also my classmates give me really good support when I need help. So I think now Notre Dame is kind of not just our program for me, but I think it's just like a family. You can get any support and help when you need. And also I get a lot of, I think it's lifelong friends. And this is the amazing treasure for me.
Yeah, so with the resources, I feel like going off what Kathy said too, there are so many of them where, it could be professionally, personally, they support you socially, in every kind of dimension of your life. They're there to help you out. Both our admissions team and the administration, but also just your classmates. But I think professionally speaking, a lot of the resources that we've had come from our career development office, and they pay for your fees to attend the different career conferences. So RAMBA is the LGBTQ plus MBA organization. In our career development office, they paid for the fee to attend it, and that was actually in DC. And then our club, we used about $2,000 of our funds, which was a good chunk, to send one of our students fully funded to RAMBA. So it was also a super great way to be able to support them so they could network and try to find an internship and everything like that. But also personally and just socially, we have a lot of events that go on, both in the clubs, but also through the administration. They even host different events just to bring our MBAs together. I think that's what kind of builds that camaraderie and that support that we see, and we had, funny enough, like a silent rave one time, which was super fun. Shout out to Joseph Foreman, our administration, for putting that all together. We have like cookies and cocoa around the holidays. We do bagels the last Tuesday of every month to kind of just come together with your cohort, and the career coaches come to that and just, talk to you about your internship hunt, your job search, things like that. So we have a lot of small events that just happen all throughout the day that kind of help bring the community together. But yeah, they definitely have a lot of resources to help you out professionally too.
Yeah, also the Latinx Summit that I mentioned before, I was funded by the school to go there to participate in this event. So there are definitely support from the school, funding support for participating in the events.
Thank you. So one thing I was also going to touch on is the alumni network that we have out here. I will tell you for a fact, it is one of the best in the country. And I didn't know the value of this network until I went to a Model Way program in Silicon Valley that we just ended in December. And we had people coming to talk to us from different companies, different organizations. We had partnerships with some very top companies to work on a project with them. And we're able to do all these things because of our alumni network, because we had people already in these companies that were willing to say, hey, we want our students to learn from what we're currently doing, get hands-on experience on what it feels like to work with these companies, and we're able to get in. And, you know, even like talking about like very top, like C-suite level executives that came to talk to us. And these people were really ready to like sit with us, have dinner with us, and have conversations, and even maybe give us like their email or phone numbers, say, hey, reach out to me, let's talk some more. Let's continue this conversation. The alumni network is something that is so big and it's so helpful that you cannot even get, like, you can just tap into, if you tap into it, you're not gonna, like, you cannot exhaust it. That is what I would say. So that is a very powerful thing that we actually have in this program. One other question that I'm going to ask is, I know people, like, it's different for everybody, but what does a typical day look like for you? I'm sure for some of us that went to the Model Way program, it is probably quite different from people that were at South Bend. But just like a typical day in your program, everything like that, how would you explain your typical day?
I can kick this off. If I'm on campus in South Bend, my typical day starts off with your morning routine, whatever it looks like for you. But for me, it looks like devotion, working out, and getting ready for class, right? Class is usually at 8 or 10 in the morning for most people. If you're lucky, you have class at 3 or 1, you're lucky. But most of us have class in the morning. So then you go to class in the morning. You might have class. Some days you may have class from 10 to 3, 10 to 4. Everybody's done at 5 normally, unless you have extenuating circumstances. After class, you're probably, after your morning class, you're going to lunch with somebody. You hardly ever eat alone. If you do, you probably just try to do some work or something like that. But there's always someone going to say, hey, let's do something. It's just the nature of the school. You eat with someone at Dunkin', when you get some food from somewhere, you get some food, you eat, you fellowship, and you usually have class at 1. Most people do, especially in your first year. You have class at 1 or at 3. Then you have class, and then you're done with class, and you either go home to do some more work or study, or I am going to study at school. Because if I go home to study, I'm not going to study. So I usually stay at school to do some more work, and then I get home, eat, and then it's usually a movie or some type of educational content that I'm trying to learn outside of my studies for school, and I go to bed. Very simple, straightforward day, unless there's some type of event happening at school, which is usually once a week, especially in your first semester. So be prepared to be disrupted once a week on average your first semester, with good things, with good events for your career, for networking and whatnot.
Thank you. I can also quickly speak to this. So I kind of do different things. So even though I have my morning routine, just like Taya said, devotion, I'm not sure about the workout part, but just getting to class. I always have a lot of meetings in between. So if you want to be involved in maybe different activities or different leadership positions, you might actually be stretched a little more, because beyond your classes and meeting with your teams to get your projects done towards the academic requirement, you might also have leadership meetings. I also do some internship at the Idea Center, which is a big part of the Notre Dame program, which is a startup incubator. So I am currently a team lead on the de-risking team. And then I also have to go to the Idea Center to work with my team members to make sure that we're actually looking at the projects and the innovations coming into our pipeline to be sure that that is really good, which is really good for me because I learned the business side of things in class, but I actually have a practical way to apply it when I go into the Idea Center to look at different innovations that is coming and we're trying to push to launch in the market. So that is also something else that I find very interesting that I do in the program. And I would advise everybody to also check it out. But also beyond that, it's really talking to your colleagues, talking to your classmates. Maybe you ran into someone in the hallway and you said, hey, let's meet up this evening for dinner or something. You actually like going, maybe making plans to go to dinner with them, or maybe you're organizing an event for the weekend, maybe with a bunch of like, maybe a few people that you just want to have over at your apartment, or maybe go out to lunch. So it's really just building that experience within the classroom and also outside the classroom. That's really the way I'll put that. And there is a question that I really want to quickly touch on. Someone said, can you please discuss more about growing the good in business? Do you have specific examples? I would love to hear more. I can speak on this for the next 30 minutes, but I want someone to go because I don't want to like take this up.
Actually, I'm happy to touch on this one too. So we are like one of the only business schools that offer business on the front lines and front lines in America. So business on the front lines are Thoughtfuls in the spring, and then front lines in America is in the fall. And I think these are really cool opportunities that really just show that we not just talk the talk, but we walk the walk, you could say, where we apply our MBA knowledge into real world situations that are usually for thoughtful and post-conflict countries in areas really in need of our help. Or in Frontlines in America, we go to more impoverished areas of the US to apply it domestically. And so that's essentially a consulting project for an entire semester that you work on a team of 5 people with. And in the middle of the semester, you either go for 1 or 2 weeks, depending if it's thoughtful or Frontlines. And you go in person, in field, whether it's in the country. So I went to Honduras back in the spring, or here in the US, I went to Southside Chicago actually back in the fall. And those are just always so eye-opening, and they just need your help so much because, in a nonprofit, your resources are very limited and you're kind of pushing it to the edge anyways. And so any help that they can get outside of their own org is huge. And to have great MBAs from Notre Dame come in and basically be a consultant for them is just such a great opportunity. You really see, outside of our Notre Dame bubble, what it's like in different areas of the world. And it's just very inspiring and nice to know that, we're here to do something good and we're trying to help them in a more sustainable way than, there's always the mission projects to like go build houses or things like that, which are also super great. But these are really more process driven and really trying to help improve value and make it a sustainable thing that, these different communities can really implement and maintain for a while.
Yeah, continue on what Nick said, I also participate in the Business on the Frontline program. I participate first in Uganda, and it was an incredible experience. It's a consulting project, but in fact, we learned so much from these communities and from these people. It's a life-changing opportunity, really. We learned a lot from these people. And then more recently, I participate in the Frontlines engagement in El Salvador. And next month, I'm going to participate in the South Bend. The same thing, the Frontlines engagement, but the business of frontline for South Bend, more locally, since my previous projects were international. This time more locally, I don't have much information on the project. But yeah, we have this opportunity to help these communities, and it's an incredible experience. We are there to help them, to do consulting, but in fact, we learned so much from them.
Thank you so much for sharing. Tayo and I are also going to be on the Business on the Frontline program, and we're going to South Africa this March. So we're really looking forward to that, and it's very exciting. We already had our first conversations with our clients, and just to see the level of constraints that people have in these countries, and just to be able to see how we can bring in our own expertise and business skills that we've learned to be able to help them build their business and grow it further is just incredible. And also at the end of every month, we do this interterm project where we pretty much act as consultants to a lot of companies out there. Most times it's always like nonprofit organizations, but just to see what they're doing and to see how we can bring in our own business skills to help them, maybe make more impact and do more things for the community. That is also like another way that we grow the good in the business. And one thing that I always say is that Notre Dame, there are a lot of business leaders out there that is coming out of a lot of business schools every year. But one thing that is different about Notre Dame is we're not just growing business leaders. We're growing business leaders that are constantly thinking about their community and their society and how their business decisions are influencing or impacting their communities. We don't just want to be out there to be competitive business leaders and just to make profit alone. But even as we're making profits, we're thinking about, hey, is this at the detriment of our community, or is this at the detriment of our society, or how do we actually give back out of this profit that we're making to actually make our community and our society better? So that is something that I would say about Notre Dame. And I've seen it play out in my 1 year, 6 months in this program. So yes. So one last question to wrap it up is going to be any advice that you have for people that are currently applying into the program. Do you have any major advice for them? Is there something they should be looking out for, or even when they get here? And then I'll hand it back over to Cassie.
Real quick, I say, when I was applying, I thought I wasn't good enough to get into any business school. I thought my background was, my grades weren't good enough, my scores weren't good enough, my experience wasn't good enough. One thing I want to encourage you all who are applying, while you're applying, is to bring your full authentic self. On my application, I told my complete story as naked as I could. I didn't hold back anything. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told exactly what happened. I told exactly how I thought, how I felt, how I prayed, everything. And I came out on the other side. So I just want to encourage you to tell your full story. This school really cares about you. They care about what you've been through, who you are, what you bring, what your weaknesses are, your strengths are. They're not asking you these things just for fun. They're asking these things because the cohort that you become a part of will be able to help you increase who you're trying to become, and you'll be able to do the same thing for others. So I just want to encourage you to not hold back in telling your story. I think all of us told our particular stories, and that's why we're here on this call with you. That's why we're so passionate. That's why we're so driven, because we got into this school because we told our actual story. We didn't make a fake story up or like give what we thought they wanted to hear. So be yourself. If you're from an international country, talk about your struggles. If you have been through some type of experience that caused you to think less of yourself, talk about it, because those are the kind of things that will help you to become a better leader by expressing that and being vulnerable. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, just building on what you said, I think it's also part of leadership to show vulnerability. So it's showing ourselves as we are. We don't need to be a good leader. We don't need to be perfect, and we don't need to have like A's all over. Like this is not about being the best to be a leader. You don't need, but.
Well, my advice is open your LinkedIn and find alumni kind students and or alumni, and you can get a lot of really great advice for application for your career. And I think the most important lesson you can learn for the application journey that you try to know more about the culture and the people who already, learned their lessons from Notre Dame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much to the panelists. You guys were really amazing. I would hand it back to Cassie right now. And feel free to reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn. I'm putting my email in the chat right now, and you can reach out to any one of us and just, if you have any more questions, we're really happy to help you. And we really hope to continue to have these conversations with you. And hopefully we can always say welcome to the family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you to all of our panelists for being here today, for your time and your energy. I'm so honored to know each of you, and you just enhance our community so much. And I'm sad you're graduating. It shouldn't be your last semester. But I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Phil. Phil is going to share a bit more about where we are at in our application cycle, how you can further connect with us. And then I know we've had a lot of questions about the fee waiver, so that is coming as well. So Phil, I'll let you close us out.
All right. Thank you, Cassie. And I echo all of the sentiments. This has been an amazing session. Thank you all for sharing your own personal experiences. For our application deadline, as you see here, our round 2 deadline is coming up next week, Tuesday, January 10th. So it is absolutely not too late for you to apply. I would say the application itself is fairly straightforward. It doesn't take tons of time for you to complete that. But if you have some questions about the application, Cassie threw in the chat a little while ago, we are actually hosting an application Q&A webinar tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going through section by section, giving tips along the way. We also are going to have a number of other events, but for the January 10th deadline, round 2 deadline, this is our preferred final deadline for international applicants. We know that it can take some time, especially there still is kind of a backlog depending where you're coming from of getting your visa processed, booking an appointment, there are delays. And so if you're an international applicant looking to apply for either the 1-year or the 2-year MBA program, try to aim for that January 10th deadline. It may be possible to sneak it in by March 14th for the 2-year MBA, but for the 1-year MBA, really try for that January 10th deadline. For everyone else, you see here, round 3, March 14th, we have a deadline, and May 2nd is the final deadline for our 2-year MBA. The 1-year MBA program starts June 1st, so obviously it wouldn't quite work out for that. But if you do have any questions or if you'd like to meet us and attend another event, there are a variety of ways for you to connect here. You can email our team at mba.business@nd.edu. You can attend a virtual event. As I mentioned, we have one tomorrow. We also have other MBA spotlights and program overview webinars. And when you're ready to start your application, simply go to the site here, mendoza.nd.edu/apply, and you'll be on your way. And as we promised, a fee waiver code. If you use the code IRISHWEB, make sure it's all capital letters and all one word, IRISHWEB. This will make it free for you to apply, just as a thank you for joining us today. But that is it. That is our session. Any other final words that you'd like to send out to our attendees? No, I think that's it. Thank you all again for joining. Happy New Year wherever you are. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe, and go Irish. Bye, everyone.